Second Amendment. Do people have the right to carry on their own properties?
Yeah, as far as I know, as long as it's not, scaring anybody else, as far as I know.
Well,
they always have the right to, but
scaring someone is not illegal. Like if you're brandishing and
that's what I mean.
that's
Carrying it is one thing. If you're pointing it at your neighbor from your property, that might come into our problem.
okay.
Yes. You have a permit to carry a weapon.
I have my
You
blue
have
card.
a permit to carry a weapon.
No, this is private
Yeah,
property,
I have a-
bud.
It doesn't matter if you're private property.
On your own
This is my
property,
home.
you have the
This is
right to
my
carry a
home.
handgun. Dude, I have a right to carry a handgun in my business.
Do you have any questions about Public Works specifically, what we do?
Yeah, I read the paper, but if you want to tell me what's the most exciting thing that you guys got going on right now?
What's the most exciting thing? Well, what I like to tell people about Public Works is like an umpire in a baseball game. If you don't notice us, we're doing a good job, right? That being said, we're getting ready to put out another road contract, so we're going to be paving about between now and the end of June. Right, the end of June, we're going to be paving like $1.8 million worth of roads in the city, which has been a real nice program the last couple of years with this mayor. He puts out the bonds, he gets the money, and we've been able to make some real good progress in that area. And that's something that is very Public Works centric. That's a nice project that we don't share with other departments. And I think that our guys down at Public Works take a lot of pride in it. Granted, we have an outside contractor that does most of the work, but we oversee it, we watch them, and we take a lot of pride in that job gets done really well and better than a lot of other communities. Some of the other things that we have a sidewalk program. It's a 50-50 sidewalk program, which means if you own a property and you want to upgrade the sidewalk, rather than being at your responsibility solely, the city will share that cost 50-50. So that's been a pretty popular program.
Can you explain a little bit more? Is that like maintenance of the sidewalk?
No, if you want a brand new sidewalk, right? So
I see.
If your concrete sidewalk's all banged up or something, we'll send someone out to do an estimate, and then we'll have the city's contractor come in and put in a new sidewalk, and they share the cost with you. And so it's a nice program because we ask people to take ownership of their sidewalk, but at the same time, it allows us to kind of stretch our budget a little bit further. If we were out there doing sidewalks on our own, we wouldn't be able to get as much done.
That seems more of a voluntary type of situation,
it is,
which is
yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish all the programs worked kind of like that. If you want a service, you should pay into it, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that is good about that. Like you said, the funding in that program is such that we don't do commercial as much, because you imagine like Walgreens on that corner. If they wanted a sidewalk done, that would completely destroy the whole budget, right? Now we're paying half of that, and they're a commercial entity. They probably have the funds to pay for it themselves. So we kind of focus on the residential piece of the community.
At that point, I'd be concerned if they're looking for tax subsidies or something like that to come in, and then it'd be like kind of contradicting the whole idea of just not just sidewalks, but everything else that they're using in public works.
Yeah. I mean, the budget's there. We're kind of there to help people who otherwise couldn't help themselves, right? I mean, that's kind of what I think of government as, and that's what this program does.
Okay.
And, well, some of the other good ones we got. Oh, street lights. We're converting all the city street lights to LED, which will result in a pretty significant savings when it's done. It also gives us control over the lights, so if we want to put up a new one, or if we want to take one down, if we want to adjust the brightness of the lights, the city controls that. Where in the past, National Grid owned all that infrastructure, and we were kind of, we had to go to them anytime we wanted any kind of maintenance. If a light was out, National Grid was taking 6, 8, 10 weeks to get out there and change a light. Now that's going to be on us.
Is National Grid the only company that deals with telephone pole?
Yeah, well, National Grid and Verizon. If there's a telephone pole in the city, it's either owned by National Grid or Verizon. And that's been a somewhat contentious issue as well, because they'll come in and think they can do whatever they want. And we've been pushing back on that. Like, you see a lot of new poles in the city, and then they just leave this pile of dirt at the bottom of them. Well, nowhere else, if you did an excavation in the city, would you be allowed to just leave your spoils right next to where you did the ditch. So we're pushing back on that, because that is, not only is it aesthetically unappealing, it represents a trip hazard. And, it's possible in an industrial city like that, since some of that material might be contaminated. Now you're just leaving it out there for the rainwater to get at it and wash it down into the drains, into the rivers, down to,
So you guys are responsible for trash and debris on public property?
Yeah. So the kind of how I explain the umbrella of public works is that public works is responsible for anything that is public, anything that the city owns, whether it's the roads, the sidewalks. City-owned buildings, with the exception of schools. The schools maintain their own infrastructure. The fleet, so police cars, fire vehicles, all of our public works, plow trucks, all that. So if the city owns it, public works is responsible for maintaining it.
Okay, so are you aware of, I think it's Washington, where like the how do I'm trying to think of the name of it. Washington Highway right over here, right? George Bennett Highway, and you have the police substation. Have you noticed all that trash there?
Oh, is there?
It's been there for years. I mean, I've actually complained about it before, and the scene
on that stretch of roadway.
Yes, and there's probably like a 2-foot length of sidewalk running that length, which is I had to kind of go cross the double lines today. Just because someone was walking there, they don't have access to that sidewalk, even it's just 2 feet, right?
Yeah.
There's not much of a walkway there, either that or they walk on the railroad tracks.
Yeah, and that's actually come to my attention before, and it is something that's on our radar to install a sidewalk on that side, because it is, I completely understand, people kind of go too fast down there, there's no protection. You really don't want them walking on the other side where the railroad is, right?
Right, it's hard to walk on rocks like that. They're thick,
like
2-inch rocks.
They fall that way, they're on the tracks, they fall that way, they're on the road. So it's definitely something that is on our radar. The cost of installing a sidewalk there is going to be pretty expensive, so we would probably incorporate it into when we're going to redo that roadway, because that way we're already mobilized, we're going to be tearing up the street. Now to just cheat it out 4 feet, install an official curb, and then a concrete sidewalk along that stretch, I think would go a long way towards improving the safety there. So yeah, that's certainly on our radar.
Yeah, and I'm going to stress this again, is that because the Public Works is right next door to that substation, and seeing all that trash just building up right there, it's just an eyesore. It really is. Like, anyone that's coming from out of town to go see the Paw Sox or something, they're all stuck in traffic and they're looking at all that, and I've never seen it clean.
Yeah, do we sweep that, or is that?
It's just inside the fence.
I think it's between
It's inside the fence. I see.
Yeah, it's on the inside of the fence line. We started doing some of the cleaning there, but yeah, we haven't gotten a whole.
Yeah, the brush is definitely cut up. I noticed that. So there was a lot of small whip trees, and they were all taken out. But it's definitely it just builds up. I get it, but it's like a trap, maybe a wind trap too.
So behind the chain link fence, there's a retaining wall, right?
Yes, and there's bricks and there's other equipment
between the fence and the wall, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
before that wooden fence for the police
station.
station.
Sense. You're right. It's definitely the kind of thing we should probably look into cleaning up.
It's on the agenda with the pumps. Because when we start working in that area, we'll be actually removing a lot of that stuff and cleaning up that whole area.
Okay.
Right up to the cemetery, and I'm sure you've probably seen the cemetery side. A lot of that brush has been cut back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We're working towards it. It's just time consuming.
Okay. And I don't know if you guys are familiar. I think that she has on her table over there the RAP program, and it's if you see a pile of bricks in someone's yard, you can file an anonymous report about it. There's an acronym for the RAT.
I don't know.
But just in its essence, it's kind of funny that you have to rat out your neighbors for things like this. But I find it's a little egregious that the city hires landscapers to come in, sometimes without warning, and it can be very dangerous when they do that.
Well, typically, and you can talk to them. That's
Okay.
zoning again. That if it's on private property,
Right,
that
it's not-
goes to that
right,
that
right.
umbrella. That being said, we still know about it because we want to be able to answer those questions. But yeah, they're going out to private properties that have called and asked for the service. They're not going to go to your neighbor's house and start setting up rat traps if you called. Hey, my neighbor's got rats all over their yard. They're not going to go out there and go onto that person's property. They'll go out onto your property and set up traps to maybe catch the rats that are coming off of that property.
And the owner has to be notified before
Exactly.
that happens. Okay,
The
okay.
owner has to ask.
I don't want you to speak for them, so...
Yeah. The owner has to ask for the service. But that being said, if they have things that are not allowed through zoning,
We're gonna just take a couple seconds to finish up the conversation, and then we're gonna rotate to the right.
but zoning will cite those people if they have that type of debris or if they're fostering the kind of environment where rats can populate, right?
Okay, yes, yeah.
Zoning can cite
That's
anyone
fair.
for that, but they'll tell you more about it.
Okay, just one more quick question. So the health department's website talks about how certain towns are fluoridated, their water's fluoridated, and that if your town isn't fluoridated, that you should go see your doctor to give your kids fluoride pills. And I don't know if you guys know what fluoride pills really are, that they're a psychoactive drug to keep to calm the kids down. If that's if you look up what fluoride pills are, that's what it is. Like if you're thinking about strengthening your teeth, go to your dentist. But why is it that you guys put fluoride in the water?
That's the water
That would be
department.
a water department.
Okay.
Yeah, totally different department.
All right.
I can give you their number if you want to reach out to them.
I'll ask him. I'll follow up on it. Thank you guys very much. You're very informative. Have a nice day. Hello.
How you doing?
How are you?
How are you?
Good, good. Let me just, I haven't read your paper there. I'm just do a quick briefing of it.
So you can take one, by all means.
Oh, I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to waste it. I'm just going to look at it.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm Joanna LaRue. I'm the finance director.
Okay.
And
Okay. I think I've seen you guys before. Are we on budget?
yes, for this year, yes.
What is the budget?
Off the top of my head, about 132 million.
Okay. Well, do you know what last year's budget was?
About 3% less than that.
3% less. Is that always increased?
Usually by a small percentage, yeah.
And has the population and income in Pawtucket increased with that?
Population certainly increased. Mostly renters.
Mostly what? I'm sorry?
Mostly renters at this point.
Renters. Okay, yes. I've heard Pawtucket's good for renting, right?
Yeah, a lot of units come online. So.
And we've had a lot of development with the mills being converted over into apartments. And so those people are
Sure, yeah, that's a very big boom.
Fortunately, they're not utilizing the school system. They're increasing even more.
Okay,
So young professionals come in and
sure. Maybe this is a tough question. Here comes the tough questions. How much has the city paid out in lawsuits?
lawsuits. So we have a line item for claims and judgments, which is essentially,
Okay.
and God, that ranges each year. I want to say this year about 400,000.
400,000.
About.
And is that where is the majority of these judgments? You call it?
Oh, so a lot of them are potholes, sewer backups.
Well, that's
and falls.
okay. That sounds like the smaller end of
Yeah.
payouts. But what is the larger end of the payouts happening from? I guess instead of the amount of how do I put the question?
Sometimes a trip and fall case might be 50, 60,000.
Okay,
They
okay.
were out of work for months or
Yeah.
hurt, and the city was found negligent in some way. A lot of times, like vehicle accidents with a city vehicle.
Yeah.
Police, fire, DPW. Hit something or some other vehicle on the road or a pole or that kind of
I'm just saying insurance wouldn't cover those type of things, or are those
They will-
specifically on call type scenarios?
We were before July 1, pretty much self-insured. So
I see.
the insurance company would only kick in is if the loss was $300,000 or greater.
Wow, okay.
So most of the claims that come in are less than $300,000. So
It's being
we're
paid out
paying
directly
100%.
from the city.
Correct.
Okay. Well, do you know what the most significant payout was, or?
Oh, the most significant payout that I can recall was years and years ago, maybe 5 or 10 million for the trash truck that hit.
Oh wow.
The trash,
Okay.
One of our sanitation trucks
Yeah.
was on the highway
Oh wow.
and hit someone and killed them, unfortunately.
And does that because of that happening, is that carried on year to year
That
into
one's
the
paid
budget?
off now.
Oh, it's paid off.
That's paid
Okay.
off
Okay. Geez, I'm trying to think of questions for financing here.
I don't pay out anything in any kind of lawsuits. I give credits.
You give credit?
Yeah.
For taxes.
For taxes. If they somehow get their assessment lowered in court or mediation. I just explain to them we're broke. We don't have any money. You're going to have to take credits.
Okay, so that would be like tax credit.
That'd be a tax credit. That
And-
we can apply that to a future bill.
Have you ever who have you given the most tax credits to?
We had a case with a power plant. Are you familiar with Pawtucket?
I am, yeah.
Okay. You know Smithfield Avenue, you see the power plant off the side?
Yep.
So we had about 6 or 7 years with them, somewhere around, I think we were out in the neighborhood of 3.5 million if we were to lose. So we mediated that down to 400,000 and we gave them credits.
So you paid 400,000 and credits? Oh wow! So you just did.
They didn't
You're not getting
pay
any-
us in taxes.
You're not getting
I
any
see.
money, but we'll credit your next several quarters with whatever amounts that you want.
If you could just maybe go over what that situation was.
Well, the situation is that this power plant was built back in 1991.
Okay.
In the middle of the night, the legislature put through a bill which would exempt them from taxation as long as they were cogeneration. And what that meant was the byproduct of their energy, of their electricity, was shipped over in steam by a pipe to Colfax fat rendering, and they rendered oil out of it. So they got a tax exemption on it. Once that sunsetted, then we put them on the tax rolls. At that point in time, the energy markets were changing, that they weren't able to compete with the larger facilities. Then it starts to change to wind, hydro, solar. So now they're even worse. So they would, we had them at 12 million. They said it was worth 4. So we kind of were back and forth over this.
I'm trying to understand why the city would have to give them any sort of credit or
Well,
pay.
it went to mediation. So the mediator, it's basically a negotiation. They came up from 4 to 8. We came down
Sure.
from 12
But
to whatever.
I guess what I'm saying is it's their responsibility to provide a service, and if they can't maintain it and become profitable, why is it that they come back to the city and ask for money or credit?
Everybody does. Anytime
you think-
you have an enterprise that's not making you the money you think you're going to do, so you want to save somewhere, so some attorney will call you up and say, listen, I think that you're paying too much in tax. Let's file with the assessor and see if we can get a reduction. And I'm not going to give it to you. So then they'll persist, they'll go to court, and they'll let it sit. Then they'll appeal the following year, and they'll let it sit. And they'll let the interest build up. So as you're like, oh my God, the interest is going to kill us on this thing.
Wow.
At which point, it comes to a head. They want to negotiate, so we go to a mediator. A mediator is basically like a judge with no jury. He listens to both parties, and then he kind of tries to say, well, you're right, they're right. You kind of have to come somewhere in the middle. You're not 100% wrong. It's not 100% right either. So you're going to come somewhere. So we made out like a bandit on that.
So beyond the legal aspect, what kind of moral ground does a company have to just say you owe us a bunch of money?
Well, it's not. I don't even think it's the company. I think it's the tax companies out there that look at a tax bill, like say it's a shopping center, like a Cottage Street, and they go, "Wow, you're paying on $18 million. We think we can get that lowered for you." I call them 30%ers because that's what they get is 30% of whatever they save to the client. So they're going to look at that and go, "Okay." So they sued us. We're in court with them. They paid $23 million for it. They don't think it's worth 17 on a tax roll? Of course it is. I mean,
Right.
ridiculous. But they try, and they
I get
try
it.
and
I get it.
put the pressure on you, and it's up to you to say, listen, no, we're not moving on this thing.
All right. So I'm going to ask the hardest question. How much has the finance department had, or I guess how much has the city paid out from police misconduct?
I don't know.
Okay. How do you know maybe how much the city spends on legal fees to deal with, say, APRA requests and all that? I know people have to pay for their own paperwork and stuff like that, but that's mostly for the print, for the actual process. But do you know how much like the city has spent on having to deal with like these legal services for feedback to the public?
Well, it's not really legal services.
Right, of course. You guys don't do legal services.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is specifically for APRA, we have the city solicitor's office, which is the shepherd of any APRA request. So when an APRA comes in, they will take it in and review it and then send it out to the appropriate departments that they believe have the records or could have the records that the person or parties are looking for.
I guess my question is like how much money has the city spent on having to deal with like those type of things?
It's more about time. Yeah. It's a lot of time.
Okay.
Because if an APRA comes to me and it's not, I might have to go digging for the documents, or not everything is just a push of a button because it depends on what they're asking, right?
And that would like you guys get paid salary, right? So it's not like an hourly wage. So you have to just get things done because when they come in.
And like what it does is it just I can't do what I should be doing. I gotta work on this.
That's why we give you that 30 days.
And the other exactly because
I get it.
We have a payroll to get out every week. We have vendors to pay every week.
I get out requests like every week or something. But a lot of stuff is they don't know who to ask, so they send it and they just send it around. It's like
it's hard. I mean, it's really hard to find the process.
They want the entire tax roll. I can give you that. What you're going to do with it, I don't know. I mean, I don't like to do people who are going to do mass mailings for advertising.
Right.
But I think that's unfair. And I don't give tax rolls out because that has personal exemptions on it. And I don't think anyone should need to know that you're over 65. Right. Or that you're handicapped, or that you're a veteran.
But if you're a public employee, that's public information. I mean, right?
I'm talking about putting that in an electronic format and sending it out.
Okay.
That's personal information as far as I'm concerned. You can come in and look if you want to look through books.
Right. Yeah. Well, personal information is irrelevant if you're a public employee, because if you're getting an income from the public, that's public knowledge. Yeah. I guess that leads to my next question: how much you guys make? 116 a year?
I think we're out of time.
Oh.
I don't make 116 a year.
You don't make 116. I'm going to APRA request it. I appreciate your honesty, and I'm not going to have to APRA request yours. Thank you, guys. Have a nice night.
If I APRA request, can you put me in for an upgrade?
Sorry?
If I send you what I have, can you put me in for an upgrade?
We'll see how efficient you do it. But no, I would put it. If anything, I'd try to decrease everyone's incomes.
Make sure you get my
Thank
peers
you.
in other cities in town as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Hey guys, how you doing?
I'm Manny.
I'm Joe.
Jess Venturini.
How you doing?
How are you?
All right.
What's going on?
Not much. Just doing some journalism right here.
Excuse me, I'm Bill Sisson, I'm the fire chief.
Oh, how are you? Thank you. All right. With some questions. Okay.
No needs.
Well, I guess what are your positions? You're the fire chief?
Correct, I'm the fire chief.
Okay.
I'm a patrol sergeant.
Patrol sergeant. I can see the 3 chevrons. All right. Thank you. How is your jobs? How do you like your jobs?
So you?
Okay. I love my job. I'm starting my 34th year already.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm in my 10th year as a fire chief. Obviously, I've come up through the ranks, and the changes that I've seen, I don't feel like I'm an old dinosaur on the job, but the changes that I've seen, it's been unreal, and I really love what I do, always have.
Okay. And how do you like your conditions there at City Hall attached to the side, like the fire department attached to the side there?
Well, that station is, we have 5 stations in total right now, and we're doing repairs as we can go through the repairs. And we're talking about building a public safety complex, which would hopefully incorporate that station.
Is that
things are improved? Things have definitely improved.
That complex is that? Are we talking about a whole new city hall, new police station, and?
Well, right now we're talking police, fire, and EMA.
Okay. Yeah.
Things like public safety.
Sure.
Complex.
Yes. I've seen like North Province has now.
Yes.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I was just there today. Wish we had their Google money, but it's a beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful
Yeah.
facility. And it's
Hey,
time. I mean,
at least you're not on Miserable Springs. Okay.
that is a tough time.
Well, thank you, Chief.
All right, so I've been on for about 14 years now. The job has its moments. I enjoy my job.
Yeah.
Obviously, some days are more stressful than others, but I get through it. And
Yeah.
by all means, I still enjoy what I'm doing. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here anymore.
It's a tough job.
It is a tough job at times.
Yeah.
There's obviously tougher jobs out there too, you know. But no, I enjoy what I'm doing now. Actually, him and I, we've been partners actually back in the day for a while. And we worked second shift together. As far as I go, I went from second shift to became a school resource officer for a bit, and then eventually I got promoted to sergeant. And that's where I'm at now. I'm on second shift.
I can
now.
tell it's a new badge cover.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, this I actually bought myself.
Yeah.
Because if
Oh,
I
nice.
didn't get this, where the badge actually cuts into this fabric.
Oh yeah.
This is the bottom piece there, so I wanted to maintain the integrity of the
I
fabric.
appreciate it because we don't want to buy you a new one.
I don't want to buy a new one either.
Thank you.
I've been on for about 13 years.
Okay. With Pawtucket.
Yep, Pawtucket. Same, on second shift my whole career. I've actually been a sergeant for 2 days now. So.
Oh, congratulations.
I have no complaints.
All right. So here's going to be some tough questions here. Okay. If there was one part of your job that you want improved, what would it be?
Improvements at my job. I definitely think it would be nice to have a few more, the ability to hire more officers, because then we can put more officers into like specialty areas. We can have more detectives, we can have more sergeants, we can have more, I guess, concentrated focus on certain like community problems. We have a certain batch of officers to do it. You know what I mean?
Like I remember you guys were, you had an FOP representative come down and they were asking for your own SWAT team. Is that what you're talking about? Something more elaborate?
Yeah, because we used to have a SWAT team, and then like years ago they ended up getting rid of the SWAT team. And to be honest, I think it was to do with funding. I don't know because I wasn't part of that.
Yeah.
The command staff or anything at that point in time.
Well, seeing that the ability of the state police are available there, maybe it wasn't necessary to have that SWAT.
Yeah,
Population has grown, so I mean, benefit of the doubt there, maybe.
When we had a SWAT team, because then we have an emergency situation that takes place, we could just handle it right there and then.
Right, I understood. Yeah.
So it's like time is of the essence at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a more intimate idea of our city also, whereas the regional team might not know which houses.
Sure, you have more of a direct connection with the community. You get that. All right, so have you ever discharged your weapon?
I'll be honest, yes I have. I've been involved in a police shooting.
I guess, was it investigated properly to the point where it was justified?
Yes.
Okay. Was the individual, what happened to the individual, I guess?
It's unfortunate to say the individual is deceased due to the...
How did that affect you as a police officer?
I mean, after something like that, it's a pretty traumatic event. For me, I mean, I came back eventually after a couple weeks back on the job.
So you're fairly quick back on the job.
Yeah. They put me on administrative leave for a bit. And they did a good job. In fact, I feel to pretty much make sure like my mental state was good and everything.
Do you think that was?
We were actually involved in it together.
Okay. All right. So I guess let me try to think of some questions here. Yeah. Right. And we do. We've got a timer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. We are in a rush. Hurry up.
Do you think that situation could have been handled differently?
It's something that you do think about. But
Sure.
Hindsight's always 20/20.
Right. In the moment, I get it.
The reality is, as far as my opinion goes, I'm sure you feel the same way. We did what we had to do at that point in time. And if we didn't do that, then one of us or both of us probably wouldn't make it.
Okay. Can you cite the Fourth Amendment?
the unreasonable search and seizure one?
We have the right to protection of our persons and effects, right?
Yeah. I can't cite it word for word though.
Right. I'm not going to do it either right now.
Okay.
but at least you know what it is. Thank you.
Sure, but
Have you ever had to tell people that their Fourth Amendment rights are irrelevant right now because we get to go into a house?
As far as a firefighter?
Yes.
No, we've never
Thank you.
come across like that.
Well, because firefighters, they do have to, quarter the house
Usually-
for emergency purposes.
We're called to a home. We're called to a home because it could possibly be that person's worst day. And, yeah, they pretty much, when they give us a call, they're welcoming us.
Of course, yes. I have seen moments around the country where, the firefighters have said this person's interfering into the protection of the house, even though it's their house, and they get arrested. It's just craziness, but okay. All right.
Never had that problem.
You guys swore an oath to the Constitution. If legislators of the State House don't amend the Constitution, they write contradicting law to the Constitution, are you still going to enforce that law that may contradict your oath? Well, let's just bring up a hypothetical. Okay, I'm sure you know Kano, Sandra Kano. She used to be a council member on the city. Now she's a state senator. She just tried to she introduced legislation, but they pulled it, and it was basically restricting journalists from being able to say whatever they want. If you. Yes, but I understand that there's slanderous type things that you can't say or accuse people of, and that's a different process. That's not, you can't just write legislation that this is going to happen, and you just start rounding journalists up for saying the wrong thing. That's not how it goes.
It's almost like you feel like you're being targeted.
Well, no. I'm not saying specifically me. I'm just saying generally for all journalists, right? Because this was targeting journalism. It was targeting the First Amendment, right? So, if a law that had passed, right, in the state legislators, would you guys enforce it?
I would say the situation would dictate type thing as far as enforcing it. Just because of slander? Is that what
I guess let me make it more broad. If the state wrote any legislation that contradicts the Constitution of the United States, and they don't amend the Constitution, would you still enforce that law?
We have discretion when we enforce certain laws. So it depends on, I would say, the situation.
I would
To be
say
honest,
individually, I don't think we would be making that decision either because we would have our legal counsel.
Right, because you guys don't make
pass
legal
that down.
determinations. Yeah. Right, understood. However, you did swear an oath to the Constitution. And that is your main protection here, to protect people's rights, right? So I think that would be fair. If the state says, well, we passed these legislation, now we need you to enforce it, but it contradicts your oath, that's what I'm getting at.
Is that legislation, was that criminal? They wanted to enforce it criminally, or was that more like a civil thing where they could sue you for slander or something like that?
I haven't actually read it, but I just read an article recently about it today. It's quite interesting. ACLU got involved.
It wouldn't be anything we would even enforce.
Right. It'd be tough.
Document, and that was the bottom line of it, you know what I mean? And someone could utilize that in civil court to a civil lawsuit or whatever it is. That's on that individual person to do all that.
All right, tough question. 30 seconds.
It's all right, man.
You can take a little one.
Second Amendment. Do people have the right to carry on their own properties?
Yeah, as far as I know, as long as it's not, scaring anybody else. As far as I know.
Well,
they always have the right to, but
scaring someone is not illegal. If you're brandishing and
that's what I mean.
that's
Carrying it is one thing. If you're pointing it at your neighbor from your property, that might come into our problem.
okay. Thank
You
you.
do have the right to carry your own.
Okay, and on your own property,
You
out
have the ability to carry a fire.
on your own property, up to the curb or the sidewalk, basically, right? Okay.
As far as I know, yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Congratulations. Right? What? Go ahead. Tell me what the hard one would have been.
That's all right.
Look, I'm trying to stay a little bit more level on this all and not so exaggerated.
Better off, man.
Because, I do my own investigation and stuff like that outside of, just
I never have
communicating.
any problem answering anybody's questions as long as it's civil.
Can I ask you, I guess this is a personal question because you guys are part of a club. Let me ask you this. Do you like Boehner as your president?
It's part of the union. I haven't had a problem. Yeah.
I've never had an issue.
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys are aware that the state is now investigating the internal affairs with Boehner?
No, we're not in that. That's on our circles.
No, I understand.
No, but that's what I wasn't aware of.
Now you are. You guys are aware now. Just be careful, guys. Do the right thing. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
What's your name?
I am Joe.
Joe?
Yeah, that's the extent of what I'll do.
Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
I'm Sue Mara. I'm the
Hi,
marketing
Sue.
director for Pawtucket.
Okay. You too. I'm just going to quickly look over this real quick.
Okay.
All right. Ooh, that train station looks nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Okay, so I have a general idea. Okay. How much funding is going to downtown to improve it?
So that's an interesting question.
I guess where Apex is in
Oh, you're talking about that area?
where that's
Right.
considered downtown, like.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'll give you like the big picture stuff, right? So we have the train station, right, which you just looked at here. Which do you know where it is?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
It's not at the old.
It's the off of Mineral Spring behind that cemetery over there.
Yes.
That old cemetery. Yep.
Exactly. So that's a $40 million project that we think is going to be transformative, right? And we're working on improving sidewalks and crosswalks and making it safe for people to walk around, hoping that when they come there that they could walk through the downtown. The other project that we have coming is the Tidewater project, which maybe you have seen on the in the paper or on the
With the
news.
soccer stadium and
Yes,
stuff.
exactly. And so that's kind of down here on the river.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be a really important project too. And again, we're looking for ways to connect the two through the downtown, so that if people are going to be coming to Pawtucket and any of the things that they have going on at the Tidewater.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because that's a direct connect. Sort of like how Patriots got their own train.
It's almost like a mall, right? You have your anchor
Yes.
on one side and anchor on this, and then there's like all the little like shops in the middle. So like that's a strategy that we are looking at. We also just spent $400,000 to improve the parking garage in the downtown.
Mm-hmm.
We were hearing from people that they didn't necessarily feel safe using it, so we improved the lighting. We took out the storefronts just to let some light in and to improve visibility from
Yeah.
the street. So that people didn't feel like they were in an enclosed space. So we did that project. There's still more to be done, but I think that it has improved.
That seemed like a quick fix because there was water damage in those storefronts.
There were.
People I've heard from are very happy with that change.
The other big thing we did is put cameras, and that has helped immensely.
They do great.
They do. I mean, immensely. We used to get calls multiple times a week for mattresses, for just.
Sure.
I don't even know what was in the stairwell, like lots of stuff.
Yeah, we don't have
So-
to go into details.
Okay.
I've seen it. I've seen it.
You know
I've seen
what
it.
I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about. Okay. So we are working on that. We did the parking garage. We also have a couple of programs, like business loan programs, that we've been working to make sure that gets out there. We've helped a number of the buildings in the downtown. We gave a tax stabilization incentive to I can't remember the address, but it was Summer Street. It was
What was the business?
Nexus Holdings. So that's they're a real
Yes,
estate property
yeah,
management
yep,
company.
yes.
They bought a building and they're turning it into.
I lived in one of their apartment buildings behind Stop and
Okay,
Shop on
okay.
Cottage. I was actually the first one to move in there, but I wasn't the first one to leave. I tell you that.
Okay. And so they got a tax stabilization agreement because they're making that into residential. We gave a tax stabilization agreement to Seven Stars Bakery, who were interested in that big major electric building.
Okay.
And they have some retail in the front. So we've been trying to use some of the incentives and programs that we have to help people live downtown and to support the businesses downtown.
Okay. Let me ask. What kind of responsibility does the city have to providing venues and that sort for sporting and that sort? Because we all knew about the McCoy Stadium, how you guys the city owns McCoy Stadium, and you guys were trying to get the taxpayers to fund the new stadium or repairs, whatever it took. What responsibility do you think the citizens have to the soccer stadium?
Sure. So the way that they're funding the soccer stadium, so it's a $400 million project. About $90 million of it is going to be public subsidy. And when they came out with the stadium, they talked about how the public subsidy isn't going to go to the stadium proper, but what it is, it's project-based financing.
So none of the existing tax revenues for either the state or the city are going to go into the project. It's all incremental, so additional tax revenue. They call it like the tax increment financing. So the idea is a developer makes an investment which increases, the tax revenue, and so we use that to fund a bond that we will use.
I see. So you're looking for that return with it too. So obviously, right? That's the idea. You put money in to get money out. I hope it's not just going to a dead end and.
No,
right?
and the public infrastructure investment that we're going to make are actually not just going to support the development. So we're looking at river walks, which we've been trying for years to try and do walkways and bikeways along the river.
That would be nice because everywhere else has it, but Pawtucket is like that dead end there.
Yeah.
You have to go up Hope Street to get to the Washington Bridge to get out of here.
And so we're looking at that. Improving pedestrian access to the riverfront is something that we've been trying to do. For 20
that's tough.
years.
Yeah.
But this is an opportunity to leverage this investment to have some of those public infrastructure. Have some of the.
If I'm wrong, Sue, but any of the dollars that come from the state or the city are going to go towards more for infrastructure than it will go for the stadium itself and things like that. So it's all going to be like road improvement, sidewalks, river walks,
the recreation.
Things like that.
That's right.
So nothing from the city or the state goes towards the stadium itself.
Yep, okay. And it's also, like I said, it's incremental, additional funding. Nothing, we're not taking any of the tax money that's there now. We're taking the tax money that's going to increase new tax money that's going to result from the investment.
Okay. Tell me about this RAT program.
My buddy. The RAT program is very simple. It's we offer to residents a bait box.
Okay.
The bait box has, and I'll show you the inside in case you want to see it. Basically, it allows the rats to come in, eat the poison, and leave. Okay. We have been doing this for several years now. And
I've been to a couple meetings. Yeah.
It is making a dent. Is it 100%? No. There isn't an area of the city that I know of that doesn't have rats, along with Lincoln and North Providence and even East Providence. All around us, they're there.
In all fairness, there's a lot more older buildings, more industrial spaces here.
Sure there is.
And I bet you if you go to East Providence to industrial spaces, you might run into those rats more. But because the industrialization is here amongst the residents, you're going to see that more. So, all right. So.
But the misnomer out there is that they all come from the transfer station. It's not true.
No.
They come from everywhere.
Right.
And so we've done a couple of times. If there's a neighborhood where we get a lot of calls and neighbors are seeing a lot of rats, we'll hit those neighborhoods with some information about what people can do to keep the rats out. And it's real simple stuff like don't leave food out for cats and dogs.
Right.
Cover your trash. Don't leave
piles of debris and that sort of thing.
Because if you get a whole neighborhood where everyone's doing that, the rats will have less places to live and less food.
Yeah, those ordinances, those would seem pretty fair. But I guess so the concerning factor with the RAT program would be that anyone can call anonymously to report their neighbor, and now you have the city on their property because of an anonymous report. No?
Nope. So you can take that, Bill. Yeah.
If someone is calling about a rat, that they saw rats on their property, we go to them. We offer this product to them.
Okay.
No charge. We will look around them. Say we're in their backyard. We'll look over the fence to see if we see anything harboring rats. And if we do, we'll contact that resident and say, listen, we think you have a problem. Please take care of this. Pick up this stacked material or whatever it may be.
So you would have never entered the person's property. You would only have been got permission from another property to look in,
yes.
Or from public property. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
That's the way my inspectors are instructed.
Okay. All right.
Look around.
We look around because if someone takes care of their property, but on both sides there are open containers of food and lots of harborage, this will only be so effective. It works better when everybody's sort of
Matter of
those
fact,
same
not
things.
long ago, we received a call from some folks that lived on a particular street. And they were complaining that they had rats in their backyard. So we sent an inspector over, and we went through, and there was like 2 or 3 properties that wanted these boxes. So we put them out, and then we stopped looking over the fences, and we discovered that it was coming from a dumpster in Lincoln. So we had to call Lincoln and say, hey, can you go maybe violate these people or explain to them that they're causing issues? So that just reinforces to me that it's not just a Pawtucket issue. It's all over the place, and we're attacking what we can. The way I look at it is, you're never going to eliminate rats. You got to control them.
Right.
And if we can control the population and keep it under wraps, we'll be fine.
Okay. What was the biggest thing, like the most expensive thing the city had to spend on to? What was the question? It was.
Me. No.
Well, I could ask you for your salary. I did that to the finance department. But
So that wraps up the 10 minutes. So what we'll do is we'll wrap up those conversations, and then if there's any other questions that we have in the meantime, then we'll wrap up the event. Thank you very much.
Okay, so how much money has the city spent on like cleaning up the city? Do you know that? I mean, that's something to find out.
Yeah, so like in terms of like trash removal and recycling and just like street sweeping.
Yeah, okay. I guess I want to try to rephrase this.
Levels.
Yes. I'm trying to like understand, like try to form my question better.
Question for DPW.
Right,
so
right.
You know what their budget is for like trash removal and recycling and street sweeping and what else?
The only thing we do in the zoning zone is if we have, say, a resident gets violated for having trash on their property and things like that, okay, and they refuse to take care of it, we can send a vendor in and clean it up and through court orders.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we lien the property for whatever it costs us to do it. We use an outside company. We don't do it in the city. We use an outside.
And you're saying the property owner has to be warned about that they're going to go clean. They have a chance to clean up themselves.
There's a process. Like there's like at least 2 or 3 notices. Each notice has to go out, and you have to allow them 30 days. I think 2 or 3 times, and then
environmental is 14 days first, and then they get a second notice which tells them you have a court date in 2 weeks. So that's another 14 days. So they're getting like 28 to 30 days.
Sure.
That always, sometimes we'll go another week.
yeah, the
Make
judges
sure.
the judges are very good about trying to be understanding about people's circumstances.
The ones we may stay on a little bit harder are the ones that are repeat offenders.
I get what you're saying. Yes,
If
yes,
they're
that's fair.
constantly going out there to do this, we try to beat on them as quick as we can, with all due respect.
If a bank owns a property and it gets like overgrown and there's say there's maybe possibly a rat problem, what's the process of which to go into that property to clean it up?
Same process
thing.
as going to a resident. Exactly the same.
You can't go onto a property without a court order. Same thing.
If the property is sold and there's already warnings to the bank about that property, and then later on this property owner is not aware of these warnings and the property was sold, do you do a new set of warnings?
So, well, there's a couple things, right? Because if there's a lien on it, like if we've had to go out there and clean it,
Right.
there's a lien on it which would show up in their title search.
And what we do also is, if someone is going to buy the property, we make them, the new property owner, sign an affidavit that says they are going to take on any violations that are presently on their property.
Right.
We transfer those violations.
That's usually part of the loan process too, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And the reason we do that is so that we don't lose any time. Because if we have to dismiss all those cases and redo them all over again, then we have to start the process.
Understood.
So we're
Yes,
trying
the
to-
problem is immediate, not
Exactly.
All right, I get you. Are you aware that the city has gone on people's property and violated their rights without warnings?
A lot of times we'll get a phone call from the person and they'll say, go ahead and go on. Or we'll get a neighbor that says, you can go on my property and go look at it.
Yeah, no, I mean our inspectors are very well trained. They know what the laws are. They know that they're not to go on private property unless they've been invited.
I do know of one case where a property was the city supposedly hired these landscapers to go on the property by judge order, but there was no warnings, and they just went on the property and they were asked to leave.
No way.
Well, I mean,
Good night.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying this went to federal court, and the city actually paid out. So
During my time,
okay, I mean this was I think 7 years ago.
I wasn't there.
I mean,
Okay.
What we can say is that the process was followed. All of the notices went out that we were supposed to send out. You know, we followed this certain process. If there was an issue with notice, like, you know, maybe that's something that, you know, that could happen.
Well,
I
I'll tell you how it
not
could
being
happen.
aware of the specific, you know, of those cases, you know, we follow our process on
I'll tell you what can happen, and I've seen this happen quite often, where we send a notice out to the person, to the property, and we get it back. And we send out another one, and another, and what happens is the people don't live there anymore. They still own the property, but they don't live there anymore.
Oh, I see. So
They never came in and filled out
Gotcha.
an absentee landlord form, so we don't know where they are.
I see what you're saying.
So what we try to do at that point is put the notice right on the front door, so that hopefully when they come over to collect their rent, they see it. But that's the only time I can see where there may be a miscommunication.
Yeah.
And then not getting the information on
Yeah.
a timely basis because we can't find them.
we do what we're supposed to do.
Well,
We notice. Like,
I'm running out of battery, but I appreciate your answers. Thank you so much.
thank
I need to
you.
I got 5%. I got to keep it on the gimbal.
What, where do we see it, or can we see it, or what?
Well, I can tell you how you could find it.
Okay.
So just look up Pawtucket, and I'll name it this meeting here, Mayor's what is it?
Oh, so
Community.
is that on like YouTube?
Yeah, it'll be on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Take care.
You too. Thank you.
What happened was ultimately marijuana. Now, ultimately, Lloyd comes to my house on a marijuana call. The thing is, though, we all know marijuana is criminalized in the state of Ohio. We all know if you're on private property, there's nothing you guys can do. Far as me smoking it or not. And the thing is, though, I do have my license in the state of Rhode Island, not no California license, but my state of Rhode Island license. And the thing is, though, I got told, because they can smell it, gives them the reason to come and investigate. So my question is, now, under my card, you'll know allowed to grow 12 plants, 12 legalized tagged plants. Now, I'm growing in my basement on an outdoor shed, it's still classified indoor. That shed's still classified as an indoor structure. But it's on the outside of my house. But it's in a wooden shed, we'll say. And I have it venting out the window. And it's exhausting. And they can smell, no, I'm saying though, they can smell the plants that I'm supposed to grow. You guys are going to investigate the property then too? Because he said to me when he came to, I said, officer, man, please step off my property. He walked right up on him like, I didn't call you, nobody in this house called you. Can you please stay off my property until I find out what's going on here? He came and said, oh, a neighbor called because he was smoking weed. I said, damn, what else smoking my man? I said, I got my license and I'm not IDing who I am to you. And then he kept going on with it, trying to get my identification and whatnot. He goes, well, you're not going to ID? So I said, no. And he walked away. The thing is, though, smell is a reason for you guys to come. But you know how much money you're wasting on a civil call than you are wasting on an actual criminal call? I understand, but what did you guys, I understand this may sound bad to say, but if you guys know it's for a civil call, just say you guys want to check it out. Just a safe. Yeah. But it's just like, yeah. It's just crazy though. It's like, oh, because they said they smelled marijuana coming from the I don't even know who called.
Right, but maybe he said, hey, he's all set. And then they didn't call again, right? He was probably either a neighbor or I'm assuming based on
All right, guys. Yes. Have a good night, guys, too.
Hey, you two guys, just have a couple more questions. Just 2 more questions.
Your time's up, man.
I know. Well, I have right. We're gonna they said we're gonna have discussion afterwards and stuff. But So, all right, I didn't see the police chief here tonight, but I guess I'm going to ask you because I have never met her. I'm yet to meet her, right? How many, like on average, how many times per week do you actually see the chief?
Well, we actually typically don't see her too often. We work at night.
Okay.
We work at the second shift.
We don't see the day shift.
What time's like your briefings at? Do you have briefings weekly or? I guess roll call and you get positioned.
Every day we have roll call.
Every day, okay.
But
But
only just like shift matters. Hey, there's a problem in this area. Check that out. Hey, these guys are gonna be in this car.
how often does the chief actually meet up with you guys?
Every now and then.
Yeah, she comes when she needs to, but otherwise she'll delegate down to the junior officers to her. She didn't need to handle every single aspect of the police department. You know what I mean? This would be too much.
Yeah, I understand.
Down to the captains, they'll send it down
Yeah.
to lieutenants, to the sergeants, and then we'll give it out to them.
Like I've met Perry many times in Providence. Like it's no problem trying to find him. I've set up meetings with him. I can't get that with your chief.
I can't answer the question.
I know. All right. Okay, guys.
You've obviously talked to the secretary and everything, I'm assuming, right?
Well, I've sent letters, but like I haven't really made much time, right? So I work full time and stuff. So this is just kind of a part-time thing right now.
I'd say if you come to the station like you are now, you'd be a lot better off. You'd get a lot.
Yeah, well, you know how things get escalated, right? Because we're not getting well communication and stuff like that. You guys came here to talk, so I was like, oh, I have an opportunity. Whereas like when I go to the station try to talk, I don't get that communication, right? So I have to come to events like this, and unfortunately, I think I was like one of 5 people from the whole community that came here.
Yeah, there wasn't too much of a big turnout. So.
The first one.
It's tough.
I don't know. I don't have a baseline.
I just feel like there's no participation, and that you guys can just reign. You guys can do whatever you want because no one's really doing anything.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. All right, I'll see you at City Council next week if you guys are gonna be there. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a good night. Good luck. Be safe out there. Protect people's rights. Thank you. Hey, thank you. Take care, guys. Thanks for hosting.